What's going on, YouTube family? Tio here, Simplistic Fishing, back at you tonight. Figured I'd make a video for you guys that aren't that interested in the Lake Texoma breakdowns. That one's going to be a huge one. I think it's going to be like 15 or 16 different videos for Lake Texoma, so that's going to take up a lot of the video time on YouTube. So I wanted to go ahead and start a new series as well. So every Friday night, I'm just going to get together and just share with you my top baits that should work for the weekend. So I've been going out in the mornings, a couple hours before work, usually 2 or 3 days a week, and just checking things out, kind of seeing what patterns are working, things like that, and been having a lot of fun. So I've been doing that this week, and I'll try to start doing that moving forward, so that way you guys can kind of learn from me on what's working and what's not working. Now keep in mind, I'm only able to fish in the mornings right before work, so I don't have any night baits or anything like that. This is really going to be more early morning, really pre-dawn, but right until the sun comes up, and that's usually when I've got to start heading back home. And then of course I'll be able to give you guys updates too on how the weekends go as well. So also wanted to let you know, I had some of the subscribers that reached out to me and said, hey, I'm brand new to fishing, just now getting a bass boat, or I'm brand new to fishing, not really sure what to do, I don't feel comfortable with fishing deep. All kinds of good suggestions, you know, from the subscribers. So guys, I really appreciate that. What I want to do is I'm going to start a series for beginner bass fishermen. So I'm going to treat it as if you just stepped in my boat, you know nothing about bass fishing, and you want to learn from start to finish. So we're going to start that series pretty soon. I'll have that available for you guys to start watching. It'll be definitely a beginner's video, so for you seasoned anglers, you won't want to pay any attention to those, but we'll keep you updated with lake breakdowns and live events that we have as well. So we'll have plenty of content for everybody to share, and hopefully you guys can spread the word on the channel's success to everyone. Let them know that we're out here, and we'd love to have them subscribe to the channel as well. So let's jump into this. I know a lot of you guys don't like fishing deep, and I hate to tell you, your best bet is to fish deep right now. I've been fishing deep the last couple of days, had a few bites here and there, missed some good ones that I was pretty upset with, not too happy about that, and then caught some decent ones as well. So for those of you that want to fish deep, you're probably going to like this video. For those of you that want to fish shallow, I don't even know what to tell you, to be honest with you, especially if you're up here fishing on Hubbard. The shallow bite's just not there. But if I were forced to fish shallow, and I had to fish shallow, there are really two baits that I'd probably throw the entire day. And the first one's going to be a frog, for sure. You guys have heard me talk about the frog plenty. I'm a frog person. I love the frog. This is a Bullywall 2. Same one as I was throwing earlier, but this one is more of a perch color. So I try to go with that color in the summertime. Hopefully, you know, kind of trying to match the brim and things like that. But I will warn you, my frog has not been too good to me lately. So just a heads up, wouldn't call this a top bait really, but I wanted to include it on this video for you guys that are scared to go out deep, because anyways, you're gonna need something, so you might as well throw a frog and get a big. Now the other thing that I would also throw if I was gonna go shallow would be that Shaky Head, and you guys have heard me talk about that before as well. So you could throw that one shallow too, and you might have some success with that. And that I do not have rigged up right now, but I wanted to show you guys really quick on how we do rig them up. So when I talk about Shaky Heads, usually I think people think about Shaky Heads and worms, and we'll do that sometimes, but for whatever reason on Hubbard, the trick is Shaky Heads and baby brush hogs. You guys have heard me talk about this several different times, but this is like a magical setup here on Ray Hubbard. It's about $2, $2.50 for the brush hogs. I think I have a package of them in there. I think I've talked to you guys about it before. And then you just get these Shaky Heads, quarter ounce Shaky Heads, or whatever weight you want. Quarter ounce seems to work the best for us. And we just pop them up off the bottom, up all around the rocks and stuff like that, and really have some good success with it. Caught some really big fish and caught some really small fish too. So it's just a good overall bait to get some bites. It's definitely a good summertime bite. You can throw it up shallow, you can throw it out deep. It's just an all-around good bait. So since we're talking about Shaky Heads, I want to kind of stay on that topic. Shaky Heads and worms definitely go together, and when you're fishing out deep, especially if you start getting out a little bit deeper than say 10-15 feet, that little Shaky Head, that little quarter ounce, is going to get to where you really can't feel it very much anymore. It's going to get a little bit difficult to fish, so you'd want to switch off of this one. And by the way, the color, you know, just figure out your color. I like black and blue, watermelon. There's a magic candy or something like that. Try all kinds of different colors. I don't think I've ever had a brush hog color that failed me. The best ones that I've seen are probably watermelon and this black and blue. So going back to the shaky head and the worms. So yes, we do throw shaky heads with worms, definitely, but it's just we don't throw them on the lighter shaky heads. We save the worms for the bigger shaky heads, and I think this is probably our best setup as far as what we catch the most on and what we've had the most success with. And this is a 6 cents one, I believe. It's just a big Magnum shaky head. It's got like a 5 or 6 aught hook on it. Might even have a 7 on it. I don't know. That thing's giant. You can see it here. We take that and we rig it up with these Magnum Crawlers from Smash Tech. And I think these are probably, I don't know, 8 count, 8.25 inches, so not too big, not too small either. We had rigged that up there, put that on there like that, and now you got a really nice big shaky head. In fact, got one down here with a smaller ribbon tail that somebody was throwing. So there's kind of an example of what it would look like. This one's a lot bigger. This is the one I would prefer to throw, but it really depends if you want that action and that ribbon tail, or if you're wanting more of a slower kind of just stand up. So anyways, these two though together, I feel like these are the best combination, and Billy Lawson is the guy who put me onto that, and I have just fallen in love with that. That's a great setup, especially when you're fishing deep. All right, so I'm gonna put those back in the bag, and then we're gonna move on. Now there's all kinds of baits we could be using, guys, and so don't be too critical of me. I'm just kind of showing you what I would use, right? There's all kinds of other things that you can use, but I'll show you what I've used. So last couple days I've had some success on Carolina rigs. So on this one I've been using just standard Carolina rig. Just got my weight here. I don't even have a glass bead, a little swivel, and then I think I've got 25-pound mono as my leader, which to me is way too thick, but it's all I had in the boat, so I went ahead and threw it, and it's been working, so I just left it there. And then I have a hog walla on the back of this. This is kind of like a brush hog, sorta, kind of like a lizard. I don't know what it is, but it works. I got the purple color. You can get those from 6 cents. It's the hog walla, June bug color. That thing works pretty good, and you just basically just throw it out there and drag it along. And then when you feel it thump, you reel down and you set the hook, and all is good. Now that's not like my favorite bait, but definitely Carolina rig has become my go-to bait. And the cool thing about that Carolina rig is you could throw that worm we were talking about. You could even throw that on there. You can throw a swim bait on there. You can throw pretty much anything you want to on a Carolina rig, and it's gonna work. Brush hogs work really well on there. I like throwing those big 10-inch worms. I like throwing those on the Carolina rigs, especially when we get in here to August time frame when it gets a little bit hotter. So that's another thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. Been fishing Hubbard, you know, like I said, the last 2 or 3 days, just kind of figuring things out. And it was weird because at the beginning of the week, before it started getting super hot, most of the fish, and it was that way last weekend too, most of the fish that I was seeing as far as bait fish and just fish activity was anywhere from like 12 to say 18 feet. And that was kind of the honey spot. In fact, I think even in one of those Levon videos, I think I was setting up right at 12 foot, and that 12 foot seemed to be the magic depth. So today, yesterday went out, you know, kind of struggled a little bit. We think we caught a couple small ones, and I missed a big one on a crankbait. But we really didn't have a ton of success, and so I was wondering, like, what, you know, has anything changed? And the water temperature's definitely been going up, especially since all of the heat in the area and stuff like that. So today I went out there, same type thing, same setup, very light wind, all of that, but I pulled off and noticed that the bait fish were a little bit further out. When I got in and really started paying attention to my graphs, there wasn't nearly as much activity as we were seeing before in that 12 to 15, 12 to 18 foot zone. Where all the fish were, they had actually backed off, and now they were in like 20 to 25 feet. Some of them were even all the way out into 30 feet. So just want to give you an update there. So if you're out there fishing this weekend, you know, on Levon or Hubbard, or really any of these lakes in this area that are going through this big heat spell, I don't think the thermocline's set in yet, so there's nothing that I can see on the graph as far as any type of thermocline, and the fish have really just pulled out like pretty far deep. So I would be looking in 18 to 25 foot is probably where I would start. But just pay attention to your graphs, pay attention to the bait fish, where the bait fish are at, and they'll be pretty consistent across the lake, and that'll kind of tell you the areas that you need to be fishing in. So it's gonna tell you you need to be fishing deep. It's not gonna tell you need to be in 2 foot of water. So the next thing I wanted to show you is something that I'm really starting to kind of learn. It's not something I've used a ton. I've always been a Texas rigger or Carolina rig since we moved down here to Texas, or a crankbait guy, and I've never really gotten into swim baits. And so this year I've kind of committed myself to fishing swim baits and getting confidence in them. And holy cow, I've put these on, and both times I've gone out there and fished with them today, I threw this on for the first cast and hooked into one, and of course I lost him again, but anyways, I hooked into him and he was a really decent fish. So I definitely suggest you go get something like this, and this is a spark shad from Megabass. This one's just a fluorescent color or chartreuse color. And then what I did, let me show you the package for that. These are 5 inches. These aren't huge at all. I've also got these as well. I don't even know what color this is, but anyways, his tail's probably jacked up now, but got that color, and then I got that chartreuse color right here. The chartreuse color is really nice. Now what I was doing was I was setting them up. I went and got these hybrid swim jigs. See them here, they got the ball head on them. I got 1/2 ounce and I got 3/16 ounce. So kind of an in-betweener, you know, a lot lighter, a lot heavier. I kind of need an in-betweener to get, but today I was throwing the 1/2 ounce. And basically I would just rig those up on the 1/2 ounce, where I rigged it up, screwed it on there, and then put it through the bait. And one cool thing about these Megabass baits is that they basically show you where that hook needs to go. So, you know, a lot of times you'll hear people say you got to line it up to where you want your bait to be. So let's say that you want your bait to be right there. So you know you want your hook point to come out about right there, and you got to figure all that out. But what's cool is if you look at the top of these, there's actually a hole already there. So it lines up perfectly to the first hole that they provide you. So if you get those same exact ones that I was talking about, and you just slide it down and then come out that very first hole, you'll be lined up perfectly right there, and then you just got to smash it down and twist it around until you can get it onto that head. You know, you don't want to tear up your bait. This is an old bait, so I'm not being as careful with it as I would if this was a new one. You can tell it's old because it's all ripped out and it's down, but if that wasn't ripped out, this would be up here like this, pretty flat, and you would have it lined up just perfectly. So anyways, these definitely make it easier to line up than any other swim bait I've ever had. I mean, you try to do that with the Kitech, it's a little bit trickier, but definitely these Megabass ones, they're making it a lot easier. All right, so check that out. I didn't talk about rods, but if you're throwing these, I had some issues earlier where I was throwing this same setup and I missed 2 good fish. And it wasn't the same setup, it was a different setup. I was throwing a 7.3 medium heavy. And I could not get a good hook set in him, and it was frustrating the heck out of me. So I needed a heavier rod anyway, so I went out and bought me a 7.4 heavy power fast action, and that's what I've been throwing this swim bait on. I've caught a couple on them now, but I did miss that big one earlier today, but I've got a video to show you guys why I missed that one. That was definitely not because of the rod and reel. And then last but not least, the old crankbait. I've talked to you guys about this and talked to you guys about this. This is the money color. This is the only color you need to be buying. Don't fall for all that nonsense of this crankbait has a cool paint job and that's why you should buy it. Just buy this color. Just trust me. Buy this color. I don't care what kind you buy. I like the Rapalas. They're good. I also like the Strike Kings. They're good as well. But the main thing that I've learned, especially in the last couple days, even after I preach to you, I should definitely do what I preach, or whatever that whole saying is, because I haven't, and it's cost me 2 very large fish just over the last probably week or so. And what it is I'm not changing out my hooks. So you need to make sure that when you buy these, here's a medium diver too. That one's a little bit deeper. This one's not nearly as deep. I think this is 10 foot. That other one's 16. And then if you get way out there like they were out there today, probably would have been throwing something like this, just a giant one. But remember, if you get any bigger than about this size crankbait, this little 10 footer, you need a special rod for it, because if you don't have the rod, this is almost impossible to throw. So don't even waste your time jacking with one of these unless you have a really big rod to throw them on, like what I just showed you earlier. This is a 7'11". So this is a very long rod. It's made for deep cranking. I also have a deep spool reel on here that has a pretty decent gear ratio in here. I can't remember what it was, 7-to-1 gear ratio. So you've got to get the right setup. If you don't get the right setup, it's just going to be impossible to throw those. And you have to make sure that you get replacement hooks. The ones I replaced today were actually on this bigger one, and these were size 2, so I just got the VMC. Thing I always suggest is just when you buy your crankbaits, go over and find your hooks. It doesn't matter if they're mustad or whatever you want, but find your hooks. Don't get cheap ones, because the whole reason you're changing them out is because they suck. So get good ones. This is where you're going to make your money. If you're a tournament fisherman, or if you plan on fishing in tournaments, or even if you're going out there and you plan on fishing that THSBA stuff, you know, you can use those default hooks in pre-fishing. Not a big deal, but come tournament day, you better have the good hooks on, because it's going to cost you. It's cost me a couple times here recently. Thank goodness I wasn't in a tournament or something like that, or I would have been pretty fired up. So anyways, guys, that pretty much wraps us up for what I think you should be throwing today. So just a real quick recap. Go get you some spark shad. You can get this fluorescent chartreuse color, or you can get this color here. When you do that, also get you whatever you like. I would say stick with the 1/2 ounce, or if you can find something in between the 1/2 ounce and 3/16, get you some of those. Those are definitely important, and those will save your swim baits, because if you go with those open hook swim baits, swim bait heads that don't have the screw on, those spark shad, they start to tear and they'll rip out pretty easy. So you want those. Get you some hog wallas. In fact, don't even mess with this. Don't get the hog walla. Save you some money and go out and get you 2 packages of brush hogs. One package, get you a black and blue, because you know black and blue is tried and true. And then the other package, just surprise yourself. You can go with watermelon, you could go with all kinds of different colors. More watermelon in there. We got watermelon with red flake, we got blue, kind of Okeechobee color. So you got all kinds of options you can have, and the cool thing is these are cheap. So get you 2 packages of these. You're going to use these on your Carolina rigs, and you're going to use these on the Shaky Heads. So multiple setups, multiple kind of techniques that you can use on the same thing. So get you some of those. Get you some swim baits, and if you have the right setup, if you don't have anything that's 7-11, don't mess with it. If you have the right setup, then definitely go get you some larger crankbaits like this one or like this one, and get set up with that. And then if you don't have that big setup, and say you're limited to a 7.3 or 7.4 medium heavy, something like that, or 7.4 heavy, probably don't throw those big crankbaits. Stay away from that. Work on the shaky heads and those swim baits, those bigger shaky heads that we talked about. And those swim baits, I would work on those. And then if you need to go up shallow and you can find some fish shallower, 10 foot or less, definitely put on this crankbait and try cranking that around. Make sure you change your hooks out. Not necessarily this crankbait. This is an awesome crankbait though, it's a Rapala. But get you a crankbait that goes about 10 feet and it has the blue back, blue top, and chartreuse bottom. That is key. You'll notice that I have that same color on all 3 of my crankbaits here, and I'll have that same color throughout. And I got upset because last night I went to Academy and they didn't have it, and this was the closest thing they had, and I guarantee this one's not going to be as good. So anyways, guys, I hope that helps you. I hope it puts you on some fish this weekend. Go out, watch some of those videos, lake breakdowns on the lake that you're going to go fish this weekend. Figure out what points you want to fish. That should help you, and then put these techniques into action, and that should really help you out a lot. So until next time, guys, I hope you catch your PB. Take care.